As a SaaS lawyer who's helped raise millions of dollars across angel rounds, I see founders far too often wasting their time cold emailing random people they found on LinkedIn or chasing investors for angel investment who are never going to write them a check in the first place. The truth is, raising angel funding is simple, but only if you know where to look for investors. So in this video, I'm breaking down exactly where to find these angel investors for your startup, the legal setup you need before you start raising, and whether you're in a position to even be looking for investors in the first place. Let's get into it. Your friends and family are your first angel investors. For most founders, angel investors start with friends and family, and there's a reason for this. These are people who already know you and probably believe in you personally. So they're not just betting on your business idea. They're betting on you as a person. Now, this matters because at the angel stage, you likely don't have much traction or revenue to show for your idea yet. So the best place to begin, if you actually have conviction for your startup, is with people you know who make a lot of money that are already within your network, like your friends and family. And by conviction, I mean you know you're willing to do whatever it takes and actually dedicate the next 5 to 10 years to making your startup successful no matter what. Having this level of commitment is crucial because you're asking people who care about you to take a risk on something that has a high chance of failure in their eyes. So here's how you actually do this tactically. Gather your friends and family together and explain your vision to them and what you're building. If you don't get clear on this with them, there's no shot they're giving you their money. Show them you're dedicating the next 5 to 10 years to this no matter what. They need to see that you believe in this enough to bet your entire career on it. Now, here's how you actually go about asking them for the investment. After you walk them through what you're building and why you care so much about it, you make the ask very plainly. You say something like, I'm raising money to build this company and I want it to start with people I trust and who know me. I'm looking to raise about $200,000 total, and I'd use that money to pay myself a small salary and hire a couple people so I can work full time on this. Then you explain how the investment works without any startup jargon. Instead of buying shares today, there's a simple agreement we use called a SAFE. Think of it like a placeholder. You're putting in money now, and we figure out exactly how much of the company you own later, when a bigger investor comes in and sets a price for the company. When that happens, your money automatically turns into ownership in the company, kind of like converting a rain check into the actual ticket. And here's the important part that you need to explain next. Because you're taking a risk and investing early, you're going to get a better deal than future investors. There's a maximum value written into the agreement, so even if the company is worth more later, you get your ownership based on the lower number. That means you end up owning more of the company for the same amount of money. Then you stop talking and let them ask questions. You'll want to address their concerns about risk and what happens if the startup doesn't work out, which you have to let them know. This is a risky investment. It might go to zero or it might turn into something. Startups are risky, but they can also be incredibly rewarding. Make sure not to make promises of success or guaranteed payouts. In fact, if they even see a return on their investment, it won't be for another 5 to 10 years because most startups don't issue distributions. Once you get that hard talk out of the way, you show them you're dedicated and you make your ask. You'll collect checks from the people who want to buy into your vision. But before you collect any money from them, there are important legal requirements you need to know about. Your friends and family have to be accredited investors, and it's not optional. It's actually a legal requirement. If they're not accredited, your SEC compliance obligations increase significantly, and you'll have to file additional paperwork and disclosures. This becomes a legal headache you're not going to want to deal with that costs time and money, so make sure everyone investing is actually accredited before you blindly accept their money. Now, beyond the legal side, you also need to be aware of the relationship risks that come with this as well. A lot of you might ignore this, but if your startup isn't successful, it can significantly impact your relationships with these people that betted on you. They invested because they believe in you. And if you lose their money, that creates tension. Also know that family gatherings and friend hangouts are going to essentially become investor update meetings. And every time you see them, they're going to ask you how the business is doing. This isn't necessarily a deal killer, but you need to go in with your eyes open about what you're really signing up for, because entrepreneurship isn't for everybody. Your customers can also be your best angel investors. Aside from friends and family, your customers can actually be your best angel investors. For example, I had a client who raised over $600K from their own customers. So I'd say this is one of the most overlooked sources of angel investment. This client worked with a bunch of digital marketing agencies, and those agency owners were high net worth individuals. So they had direct access to people with money who already believed in what they were building. Here's exactly how they raised that $600K. They identified about 30 customers who were high net worth individuals, and they got $20,000 checks from each of them. And that successfully raised over $600,000 total from their own customer base. And the reason this approach works is because your customers already believe in what you're building. They're already using your product or service. They understand the problem you're solving better than anyone else does. And to put the cherry on top, they've got firsthand experience with your solution. So they're going to be a lot more likely to invest than most people. Do not sleep on your customers. Something super important to remember though is that if your legal setup is messy, investors will either walk away or you'll run into problems later that will cost you a lot of money. So if you're planning to raise angel investment and you want to make sure you don't make any mistakes that could give you a legal headache down the line, you can click the first link in the description to book a free consultation with me. We'll make sure everything looks perfect so you're investor ready. Now back to the video. Where to find angel investors online and through networks. If you don't have friends or family with a lot of money, or if your customers aren't in a position to invest, there's still good news. There are several platforms and networks specifically designed to connect founders with angel investors, like Crunchbase. It's a database where you can find investor profiles and see their funding history. There's also AngelList, which connects startups directly with angel investors and syndicates, and then PitchBook, which provides detailed investor and company data. Of course, there's also LinkedIn and Twitter, which are useful for direct outreach and building relationships. Beyond just individual platforms themselves, these angel networks are groups of investors that band together to invest in early stage companies. There are investors who will typically invest before VCs will. So they pool their resources and expertise to evaluate and fund startups as a group. You can also use platforms like OpenVC or an app called Metal.so. These platforms match you with investors based on your stage and industry. But when you use these sites, here's something you need to watch out for. Not all investors who call themselves angel investors actually invest at the angel stage. A lot of entrepreneurs complain that they'll pitch to someone who says they're an angel investor, but then that investor says something like, "Come back when you have a product and customers." This is not really an angel investor. That's someone investing at a later stage and just calling themselves an early stage investor. And that happens because investors are risk averse. They don't want to lose their money. So they wait until your company is less risky before they invest in it. So before you waste time pitching to them, check their portfolio on Crunchbase or their website to see what stage companies they've actually invested in. If all of their investments are in companies with established revenue and products, they're probably not going to invest in you at the pre-product stage, no matter what they say. So don't waste your time on them. The accelerator and incubator path. Another approach you can take is going through an incubator, accelerator, or pre-accelerator program like Beta University. They will admit you and provide resources to develop your idea into a business. Many accelerators will accept you pre-product or early product, give you an initial investment, and provide resources to build your company. And the benefit of accelerators is that you get way more than just capital. You get mentorship, resources, connections, you get validation that can help with future fundraising, and you become part of a network of founders and alumni. Now, let's talk about the legal setup you need before raising angel investment. Because before you start raising angel investment, you need to have the right legal vehicle set up. Specifically, you need a Delaware C corporation. This is what investors expect, and it's the standard for venture-backed companies. So if you have a different entity structure, you will need to convert before you start raising any money. For angel investors, you're going to use something called a SAFE. SAFE stands for Simple Agreement for Future Equity. It's a template contract that was developed by Y Combinator, and most rounds under 2 million are done with SAFEs. Now, if you're going to friends and family, you'll most likely need to explain to them how SAFEs actually work. They're not equity yet, but they convert to equity in a future price round. There's typically a valuation cap, which caps the valuation at which their money converts. So the lower the cap, the more equity you're giving away. There could also sometimes be a discount, typically around 20%. Now, some people might have a hard time understanding what a SAFE is if they're not an investor. So here's how you can explain it to them in the simplest terms, which I also explained previously. This isn't me selling you a piece of the company today. It's more like an IOU for ownership later. You're putting money in now to help me build the company, and when a bigger investor comes in down the road and sets a real price for the company, your money will automatically convert and turn into ownership at that point. Because you're taking a risk and investing early, you get rewarded for that. The agreement says you get to buy in at a better price than future investors. Now, who makes the best angel investors? If you want to do this right, you'll need to know what actually makes the best angel investor. Because something to remember is that not all people with a lot of money are immediately good fits for your startup. In my experience, your best bet is going to be founders who have exited that are often your best investor. And here's why. These are people who've successfully sold their companies and want to give back to early stage startup founders who used to be in their shoes. They understand the journey because they've been through it themselves, and they will be a lot more willing to invest in you and also provide network and resources. And another great type of angel investor is going to be corporate executives. They're usually high net worth individuals with a lot of disposable income, and they want to be a part of entrepreneurship without actually having to be an entrepreneur. So investing in startups satisfies their dream of being involved in the exciting world of entrepreneurship without actually having to do it themselves. In general, any high net worth individual could be a potential angel investor. The key is that they need to be accredited investors for legal compliance. And they also need to have some interest in or connection to what you're building. Now, here are the two philosophies of finding investors. There are two philosophies that I know of that are most common when it comes to looking for angel investors. And there's somewhat of a debate in the startup world about whether you should even be looking for investors at all. A lot of entrepreneurs believe that chasing investors, including angel investors, is a complete waste of time. They say the best thing to do is build a product cheaply with one or two core functions that solves an important pain point for your customer. And then once you have that traction, it becomes way easier to raise capital. So basically what this philosophy is saying is that the best approach is to build a company that makes investors chase you. But other people believe that finding angel investors is like any other form of sales. This other philosophy is more about finding leads, qualifying them, setting goals, and tracking your progress. The general consensus is that if you schedule 100 meetings with qualified investors, you should, in theory, find some percentage willing to invest. So it's really a numbers game combined with proper targeting, though my personal view is if you have investor connections, use them. If you don't, but you have family that can invest, use that. If you have neither, then your only choice is to find a way to build without investors. And ultimately, I truly believe you can never go wrong by focusing on your customers and building yourself up as an expert in the field that you're looking to build in. So if you're an early stage founder who's planning to raise angel investment and you want to make sure you aren't making any mistakes that could kill your fundraise, then click the first link in the description and book a free consultation with me. On that call, we'll look at where your company is right now, identify any gaps that could scare off potential investors or cause problems later down the line, and give you a clear roadmap to become investor ready. Again, first link in the description to book your free consultation. And if you want to go deeper and learn everything you'll need to know about actually raising the capital for your startup, then watch this video next.